I'm Coach Ed at Frequency Martial Arts, and to my left is Ryan Vandercook. And Ryan, you've been training now for 7 months. Give the viewer some information about yourself, your background, and what motivated you to start training Jiu Jitsu.
So I'm 32. Like Coach Ed said, I started training just a little over 7 months ago now. What got me into coming here is after going blind, I needed something to occupy my time, and I'm a Marine Corps vet, and the Marine Corps has their own version of a martial arts that had tidbits of Jiu Jitsu in it. And after losing my sight trying to find a non-striking martial arts, I landed on Jiu Jitsu, and that's how I found here.
And how old were you when you lost your vision?
Oh, I lost that 9 years ago now, so I was 23.
What were you doing before you found Jiu Jitsu to fill your time?
I was a reservist in the Marine Corps, so I did that. And then just working full time, I worked in the natural gas industry and basically just worked as much as possible. I didn't really have much of outside work life fun stuff to do.
Now, one of the things that threw off a lot of the teammates when you came in was the fact, you informed me over the phone and through emails that you were legally blind. Mm-hmm. I informed you, hey, if you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you because I've never, taught anyone who was legally blind. A lot of the teammates that you worked with thought it was a joke because, you see these videos online where a black belt goes to his friend's school and he, pretends to be a white belt, and he goes in and he just smokes everybody. I know I had put you with Shane and Aaron, a purple belt and a blue belt, so that way you could feel the moves being conducted and you would have another teammate make sure that you were in the right positioning. And both of them told me, we don't think this guy's blind because he picked up so quick, he moved. It's not like your hand was flailing around trying to find the grip. You just had that sixth sense, if you will. What advice would you give to somebody in my position who is running a school or maybe a coach and someone who is legally blind walks through their door?
Definitely be open-minded. Obviously, everyone's going to have different levels of what they can walk into. Like I said, I had a little bit of experience. I would say Coach Aaron and Shane, they showed me, we probably went over 5 or 6 different moves. I already knew 2 of them. So I had, like I said, a little bit of experience. But just being blind and coming into this sport in particular, it has its drawbacks. Like other competitors, they have the ability to go and watch instructionals. I have found most people can't verbalize their way through moves as much as they can show them. So that's a little bit of a drawback. But if you, like how we do it, where I am the demonstration dummy at all times.
You're my uke.
That works perfectly. It saves time because then it's not showing the class and then coming back over to me. 2 birds, 1 stone.
And, in the 7 months that you've been training, you've done a lot more than most people. I mean, first of all, you came in, you did your trial class. The trial class motivated you to become a member, but also, you're training roughly 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. The 12:30 class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then back in May, so roughly 2 months ago, you went and did your first competition. What was your thought process going into the competition and the day of the event, and now that that event is behind you?
I felt pretty good going into it. I felt prepared, I guess. I wasn't truly expecting to walk away with a gold medal first place finish. My goal was to not come in last, and I managed to finish just above over halfway through the pack.
Yeah, and it was a learning experience for me as well because I didn't know how the coaching would go, and the staff at the Fuji tournament were simply amazing. They let me actually get closer on the mat to the action. I mean, it wasn't like a helicopter parent, but I wasn't sidelined like typical coaches. And you hit a sweet arm bar. You know, tell everyone about, you know, the thought process and how you set that up.
So, as all competitions match start, they start up on their feet, and we had worked for 3 weeks, I think, working up to that at pulling guard from a standing position. So that's what I did coming out of it. He came down into my full guard, and he went for a bread cutter style choke, but he left his arm fully extended. I did not see the arm bar on the first side. I just cleared that arm to stop the choke, and he took his other arm and did the same exact move. And I just thought back to another team member, Aaron here, not the coach, the other Aaron. Mm-hmm. And he would harp on me for the first few months about not having straight arms because of arm bars.
Right.
And I saw that, and then one of the techniques that we do for warm-ups, the pendulum drill, and I ended up throwing that right leg over the top of his head and thrusting my hips forward and pulling back on his arm to hit that arm bar.
It was beautiful. I mean, I was so excited for you. And again, you know, that's a perfect reason why you don't try to submit somebody when you are inside their full guard. Since then, you know, you haven't taken any time off. You've been coming to class. You've been training. What's next for you?
I have another competition coming up in September down in Springfield again, same Fuji tournament. And then at this point, I'm focused on training for next year, actually. I have intentions, as long as I can make things work and happen, to go compete with the International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation's Masters World Championship out in Vegas next year.
Man, that is awesome. And, you know, in addition to the competitions and the classes that you come to, you know, you've come to a seminar. What was that experience like? Because that was pretty early on in your training, I would say within your first 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, and at that time, we only had the Monday and Friday afternoon class. So you were only coming in twice a week, and then within your first 2 months, you signed up for your first 3-day workshop. What was that experience like?
It was good. I worked with yourself, and then I also worked with, again, the team member, Aaron. And Mateus demonstrated with somebody else, but whoever I was paired with for one of those 3 days would verbally walk me through the techniques, and then we would drill together afterwards. And then Mateus himself, going through the crowd, he would stop and perfect anything that needed to be touched up, and he himself jumped straight in and had no hesitations working with me either.
Where do you see jiu-jitsu in your day-to-day life and how it's benefited you over the past 7 months?
Definitely healthier. When I started training back in December of 23, I was probably knocking on the door of 250 pounds. I'm down to 225 now. I'm actually
Dude, that's awesome.
dropping a weight class. I have intentions on losing another 20 pounds and dropping one more weight class, hopefully before Worlds. Fighting in the ultra heavy weight class. I definitely learned a lesson in May. Yeah, so just being healthier, I have found myself a lot more patience.
Okay.
I was going to say, I don't fly off the handle probably nearly as quickly as I used to. That could be an age thing, but I have a feeling it's more being more calm under pressure and in uncomfortable circumstances that you tend to find yourself in, just rolling with teammates.
And speaking of teammates, you know, what advice would you give to somebody who is, you know, kind of intimidated by the fact of rolling with someone who's visually impaired?
Don't be. That foremost, just don't be. I feel that I have a slight advantage, not technique or experience-wise, just simple body anatomy-wise. When we do demonstrations and do the drills, when we're doing arm bars, for example, you will teach to feel your way down their arm to where you get your forearm behind their elbow to then start extending to lock in that arm bar. I just feel with the connection points that we have, I can put my arm straight into somebody's elbow 9 out of 10 times without even looking for it. It's just a natural, if you have somebody and you're touching their shoulder, you can find their elbow almost immediately. It's something you have to work on, but anybody can do it. I just have it a little bit more developed because of my circumstances.
You know, and that's the other thing too. It's like, you know, in the world that we live in, a lot of people get offended pretty easily. And like I've heard teammates say, "Hey, you know, I'll see you later," or I hear a coach say, "Hey, look to your left," and you know, it's one of those things. And I even hear you say it, where it's like, "Hey, you know, I'll see you later," blah blah blah, but you're visually impaired.
Right.
So I'm assuming, based off of the 7 months that you've been here, the conversations you've had with teammates, coaches, myself, when someone says seeing, look, watch, you're not freaking out in your head and just holding your tongue.
Oh no, not at all. I still, when I talk to family members, friends, anybody, I still use the same terms. I watch TV, I read a book, all that. I still use all the same vernaculars. None of that has ever changed I've never switched. And I don't see a reason why. What's the purpose to make everybody else try to learn essentially a second language when I can still use the same words? Makes no difference.
All right. Before we wrap up, what is your favorite go-to move when you are in the mount?
Oh, mount right now, I would have to say, are you talking me in bottom or on top?
No, you're on top mount.
I'd have to say going for an Americana is my go-to at the moment.
Okay. And if someone is in your full guard, what are you looking for?
I like to get an arm wrap and either go for an arm bar from there, if not a kicking sweep. I'm not sure what we call that one.
Oh, the scissor sweep?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you know, if you could go back and give yourself some advice at the age of 18, what would it be?
Be more patient. Check your ego. As I say, because I do. I look back at my past, and if I had started Jiu Jitsu, say, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have made it. I think I would have had too much. I would have been too competitive. I'd had too much of an ego. And the first 6 months, just basically learning survival of how to survive a roll without getting submitted every 30 seconds, I would have never made it. So just check your ego and be more patient.
All right. Well, there you have it. Thanks for checking out the video.